Hello everybody, and thank you for joining me today. Okay. Okay, so actually starting and not doing a loop start this morning. Yeah, I use loop starts like 99% of the time, but just happen to have a fairly long piece of 2 strands that I'd saved from somewhere else. Okay. All right. Yeah, so excited. We're gonna reach the edge of this pattern soon. We're at row 470 and it goes to 540. So yeah, that's always fun. Major accomplishment feeling there. Okay, so let's see. Based on what I've got parked here and how long it is. Okay, that's a short one, right? So I'm gonna do it for those 3 at the bottom. So I need to join a new piece. Yeah, to carry on. Oh my goodness. Oh. Oh my. Having a little trouble with my loop start today. Ooh. Yeah, so not much to update in life happenings today. Cars in the shop still. It snowed again last night. Ugh. Not too much though, and it's probably gonna melt today or tomorrow. We're at that, it's spring, no, just kidding. Oh wait, it is, no, just kidding. Part of the year, so. I said it was all my fault because, well, the snow is mostly melted except for like the big piles of, you know, ice that have been plowed off of people's driveways and the roads and stuff. And, but the streets are pretty much dry. So I wore runners yesterday instead of boots. So I said it's all my fault. Yeah, we're right at that time of the year where if people want to put a summer garden in, they have to start thinking about it, but it might be too early. Yeah, we don't get a very long growing season, so, you know, you want to take advantage of that as much as possible. But if you put in your plants too early and we get another frost, then yeah, you're kind of out of luck. So, kind of why I haven't done that yet. We lived in a place for a while that had a little greenhouse someone had made, but I think the material they used for the walls of it was supposed to like let in some sun, but not all of it. But I think it blocked too much sun because nothing grew in there. I tried, not even beans. And I mean, come on, beans are basically weeds, green beans, right? Yeah, and they didn't grow, so we gave it a shot. It was no good. So, well, I managed to kill an aloe vera plant, so, you know, that'll tell you about my growing skills. The apple tree that we planted worked, but I mean, didn't need much work for that. It's a pretty hardy thing. Stick it in the ground and leave it, and it does most of it on its own, so yeah, because I don't know anything about pruning and that. I'm no good at it. I remember when I was a kid, my mom had a little cactus garden, and we actually, you know, in the little pot, and we actually kept it sort of sitting above the kitchen sink. And so basically you never had to water it because like the steam from doing dishes was enough to keep them alive, since, you know, they're cacti. It's a desert. Yeah, my sister gave it to her for Christmas one year, and I remember us wrapping it, and we put a little sign on it saying this side up so she wouldn't turn it over because, of course, yeah, it's potted plants. You don't want to do that. And my sister trying to hold the paper in place while I taped it on, and she kept getting poked by the spines through the paper. Oh, yeah, that was funny. Yeah, that thing lived for decades, though. Maybe I should get one of those. Those seem pretty impossible to kill. Yeah, I'm so bad at growing, I get my aloe vera gel from a bottle. My husband actually uses it as a hair gel sometimes. It's healthier for your hair, right, than drugstore gel. Yeah, perfect. Nice little piece. Yeah, so stitching parts on this that's kind of going vertical and stitching in a diagonal kind of I end up with quite a few color changes, but that's okay. Yeah, I tried row stitching with parking, and I tried column stitching, and just they didn't want to click in my head, so this one worked, so I've stuck with it. Come on. Ah, there. Being stubborn and doesn't want to go through the stitches there to secure it. Oh, I see. Okay. These kind of cross over each other. So in order to keep from doing them out of order, I've got to kind of break them up. I was trying to see if I could do the number 4 stitch to the left so that I could do both of these brown ones in one go, but the parked thread for doing that is to the right of this one, so to do it in order, kind of have to shuffle it around. Yeah, if you don't care so much about not closing stuff in, you know, it might go a little quicker. I'm just being persnickety about it. Okay, and I didn't leave that one threaded because it's pretty short. Yeah, and this one I knew I was coming right back to it, so. And that's another thing, I won't be stitching with that one I just parked for probably a while. So that's also why I left it unthreaded. Oh yes, I packed that color away in my envelopes last time, because there's not very much of this color anymore in this section I'm currently working, so it's no longer in my working tray. Yeah, one of those weird nights where I woke up at 4:30 for no reason. And I was starving in the middle of the night. I guess I didn't eat enough at dinner. I had to get up and have a snack. Otherwise my gut was gonna keep me awake. This is an eensy weensy piece, but should be able to get one stitch out of it. Yeah, I've got the theme from Outlander in my head, except I actually knew that song, the Skyboat song, which is what it's based on, from Star Trek, because in the Next Generation episode, The Inner Light, that was the song that Picard learns to play on the Resican flute. And yeah, I haven't got to that. That was one of the best episodes of that show that they made. I loved it so much. Haven't got to that one yet. Still working through the series, showing it to my son for the first time. It's quite funny. We watch some different shows with him, and he loves his stuffed animals. And so he has a different one that he brings down to the TV room depending on what show we're watching. So the one that he brings down for watching Star Trek, my husband calls now the Star Dog. We have the Funny Dog for when we watch AFE. There's the Truck Dog for when they're watching Heavy Rescue 401. Or same with when we play computer games. So we had a rescue dog, which was Marshall from Paw Patrol. I said, well, that kind of works, right? I mean, he's a fire dog. Maybe he would be a rescue dog. So we play Rescue Team. It's a little computer time management game series. Oh, I keep trying to work my way back to the right, but every time I do, there's colors that need to be filled in before I do those. Okay. Yeah, sometimes I even end up almost at the bottom of the diagonal working my way out towards the right, but that's fun. as I've said before, I don't work in rows. Okay, so I think I'm just gonna come up here and yeah, if I have to break sections of color up, then that's what I'll do. Because yeah, if I keep sort of going further down the diagonal, I'm gonna run out of needles and end up with more tangles, so. Goodness. Grabbed the wrong needle there. That won't work. Okay, good. This is a thread I can end off. One less to deal with. Oopsie. There. If you make the pin stitches a little too long, then they show more. Really want that fabric to close in over it so that it's invisible once you've stitched over it. There. Kind of try to keep my thread also on the correct side of the grid line. Not that it really matters, but I try not to stitch over the grid line because that makes it easier to remove later. Because I don't try to pull the whole thing at once. I kind of take my needle, insert it, and pull it through sort of every 3 or 4 big squares. So yeah. Just less chance of any snagging or distorting the holes just in case. I mean, it shouldn't snag, but yeah, I mean, you certainly don't want to distort the your work after spending so much time, right, on it. That would not be good. Yeah, I tried gridding with, I know a lot of people swear by fishing line, but I don't know, maybe the stuff that I found, I tried getting the thinnest stuff I could find, but it didn't seem thin enough. And it was kind of buckling, and I was afraid that it was going to pull the holes over time and distort it. And you really don't want, you know, big holes left in your work. So that's why I switched to this silky monofilament thread. So yeah, it's so thin, it's not going to you know, if you stitch over it, the stitches aren't going to be much bigger with any bulk there. And yeah, the fishing line was a bit bulky, and so I was afraid if I stitched over it, those stitches would be left kind of loose once I pulled the grid lines out. Yeah, when you're going to spend so many hours on, you know, you can put years into these pieces. Yeah, it would be heartbreaking for it to be marred by that. I would be very sad. Yeah, before I made these grime guards to hold the fabric, somebody had mentioned they use the big hair claws. Be very careful when you get those, because the ones I got, I didn't realize had sort of some rubbery, grippy stuff on the teeth of them. I guess to help hold hair better. Unfortunately, they left marks on the fabric. Thankfully, it was right on the edge on the part that I was going to cut off anyway, once I framed it or mounted it. So it wasn't a problem, but if it had been in the middle of, you know, the design or something and a light color and didn't get stitched over, you could still see it. That would have been really upsetting. So yeah, if you do that, be careful that they aren't going to leave any marks on your fabric. So yeah, that's another reason why I really like using these grime guards. Keeps things clean, keeps things contained, and it doesn't leave any marks on the fabric. In fact, if you're making a grime guard and using darker colors fabric, it's probably a good idea to pre-wash it just in case it does bleed. Because yeah, you don't want that. Pardon me. I used, yeah, like this lighter color here, or some other ones I used that was darker, but it was old sheets, so they had been washed many, many times. So there was no chance that the dye was going to run. Yeah, like I learned the hard way. If you have brand new towels that aren't white, wash them by themselves the first time. Or yeah, they bleed all over your other laundry. It is not good. Even if you wash in cold water, which I generally do. I only use hot for like cleaning cloths or my guinea pig's bedding, because we don't use sawdust for her. I use old baby blankets, and then yeah, they get washed with the hottest water possible, since of course she pees on them. So yeah, she gave us a scare a while ago. I noticed there was orangey stains all over, and I thought maybe she had a bladder problem. So I took her to the vet, and they did tests and everything, and it turned out, yeah, one of her toys, she chewed it all up, and the red dye stained it. It's like, for Pete's sake. So I took you to the vet for nothing. You were fine. Somebody said it was the guinea pig equivalent of eating beetroot, right? Oh. Or that was like somebody was saying their cat was hissing and acting just wild. They thought there was something wrong with it, and it took, you know, 2 of them to wrestle it into the carrier to get it to the vet, and it turned out it just had a piece of tape on its leg. And that's what was freaking it out. Oh. It's a good thing we love them, because boy, sometimes they cause so much aggravation, hey? But they give you such pure love too, right? Yeah. It's the best. Yeah, and they said there's a science showing that actually petting an animal gives you, actually lowers your blood pressure, right? It's actually good for your health. So there's that too. Okay. A lot of this color here. We need some new strands. definitely going to be multiple strands of this color. Because of the way it flows across the pattern, it's going in a downwards direction, and we stitch in a diagonal direction, so that's what happens when it goes in a different direction than the diagonal. It all works out in the end. Those ones are kind of twisted. I didn't railroad it. So I just pull it up, stick my needle between the strands, and then, yeah, that just guides them to lie side by side instead of twisting around each other. Oh my gosh, I'm having trouble today yet. I missed the whole split the fabric. Again, probably nobody would notice but me, but it would annoy me. So I will fix it. There we go. Yeah, it's because it's kind of full of 3 other threads that that is more likely to happen. So I'm gonna pay attention there. Okay, so I'm gonna do this one. We're back up to where we started. Yeah, I do this one and park, and then that way I can do all 3 of these shaded ones together. Looks like that thread will be just long enough. Excellent. Okay. Caught it with my finger on the other side. Almost unthreaded my needle. Okay. Okay, yes, and another thread. Okay, so we should be able to do a bunch of this half circle one, I would say. In fact, depending if my thread's long enough, I might be able to do all of those. Yeah, and then park it for the next diagonal. We shall see. I love when I can do a bunch in a row. Yeah, it feels almost meditative sometimes. Just sort of getting a groove and yeah, kind of find the sound of the thread coming through the fabric. It's kind of relaxing. Apparently I'm not the only one. Yeah. Somebody was asking, is it just me? Nope, not just you. That one is full of other threads, so I have to use my right hand to get it to go just how I wanted it to. Okay, so those are done. Perfect. Okay, did I leave this one threaded? I did, so I might as well do one more stitch before I park it. This is a shorter one, so I'm just going to go over to these sort of two lone stitches down here. And I'll do a longer one for when I'm doing all this. Yeah, that will work. Again, I think I left this threaded, and I did. Yeah, these are kind of right on the edge, so again, it's just check if I left them threaded. If they are, I'll do a couple more stitches with them. If not, then just park them out of my way. The stand is being really wobbly today. Okay, I'm not going to bother with that because, again, right on the line, it's not threaded. So I'm just going to carry on and move down the diagonal. Here's some needles that came unthreaded. Good, so now I will not have to reset and pull all my needles off and start over. We thinned it out. Okay. See, I got a bunch all over the place and one parked. Okay. Just gonna decide what I want to do with this. Okay, I'm going to do 2 paths with this. Either way, this is going to end up with some carrying across the back. Even if I was stitching it cross country, that would happen. There's really not much I can do about it. There we are. Okay, I'm going to park next to this black diamond right up there. So I did this one in the corner and then carried it over to the right. 796. Pardon me. Since I have a couple short pieces for this one, I'm going to use them up. So if I didn't have any short pieces, I would start a long piece, do that one stitch that is snugged up to the edge, and then park. But since I have a couple shorter pieces I want to use up, I'm just going to do this one by itself and then use another strand for those other 2 by themselves. Since I'm going to use pin stitches to finish, it won't really add a lot of bulk. Yeah, that was one problem I had before I learned how to do pin stitches, was the extra bulk from so many strands being finished off. Yeah. But now I don't have that problem since I can use a combination of techniques to make sure it. Okay, so I can see, yeah, what I'm going to do. Again, lots of this color. So lots of strands. Still over 8,000 stitches of this one. Yeah, but oh, according to my spreadsheet, I now have less than 100,000 to go. Yeah, I'm at 90,000 something, so woohoo. Only 90,000, right? But we are making progress. We're getting there. Yeah, that's one nice thing about the spreadsheet that I use. That someone else made it. I'm not that math inclined. They were gracious enough to share it. And yeah, it does the math for you whenever you add in how many stitches you did and tells you how many you have left. And then, of course, your estimate for how long it will take to complete. Okay. Wow, there's going to be a lot of this too. Okay. Just decide what I want to do here. Okay, so many strands, I have to make sure I grab the right one. Are we going to tangle? Nope. Gotcha. Okay, so those 2 and that one, because they're leftmost, cornermost. gosh. There we go. Okay. Oh, went to go pick up a parked thread, but there is no parked thread there. Silly me. I have to add one. Try that again. Left hand is definitely not as deft as my right. Not ambidextrous. Yeah, I was thinking, I guess playing the piano must be harder when you're left-handed, because generally the more difficult stuff is with your right hand. Again, another way the world is just set up for right-handed people, not left-handed. I mean, of course, when you get to the really difficult pieces, they're pretty much both just as difficult. There is a guy I follow called Ryan Z Piano Man or Piano Guy, something like that. He does covers of video game music. That's actually how I discovered him. Was I was looking for Ocarina of Time music because there's a couple of really rockin' beats on the soundtrack. So I was searching for it and I found his covers, which are amazing. I'll if I don't remember, drop me a comment. I'll put a link to his channel. I just love his stuff, and because he does them, but he arranges them himself, so he adds a little flair to it, and yeah, they're really pretty. And he has it with, you know, the notes are coming down towards the keyboard, so you can kind of see what he's going to do before he does it. And yeah, sometimes I got my mouth hanging open watching, because his fingers just fly. Because I'm only an intermediate player at best. There's like 8 grades, at least when I was taking it, and I got up to about a 4 or 5 levels. So yeah, I'm an intermediate player. Like, I'll have people who don't play her like, wow, you're so good. And I'm like, well, I'm okay, but I mean, I'm no concert pianist or anything like that, you know? Yes, of course, if you can't play it at all, it looks super impressive. But yeah, if you know how to play it, it looks harder than it is. Plus, I guess I almost have that sense of, you know, something seems really difficult until you do it. And then it's like, well, if I can do it, maybe it's not that difficult, right? You know, that kind of imposter syndrome feeling. So, did I do those? Oh, I did, and I just didn't color them. Yeah, that's right. And I parked it earlier. Okay. Well, silly me. I bet some of you probably noticed that and were like, hey, you didn't color them in. What are you doing? Yeah, before I stitched with the app, I used to Well, when I had simpler non-full coverage pieces, I actually would color my pattern with different pencil crayons and in contrasting colors so you could see it. But once I started doing full coverage, and there's so many colors, you really can't do that. It doesn't work as well. So I started where I would highlight what I was going to stitch, and then after I stitched it, I scratched it out with a pen. This was before I developed my 2 highlighter system. But then the problem was if you scratched out a stitch you hadn't actually done yet, then I often would have to go back to my computer, open the original PDF, and find what color it was supposed to be because I couldn't see it through the pen, so whoops. So then after a while, I changed it. I didn't develop it myself. Somebody else had made the suggestion where you highlight it and say yellow or something, and then go over it with a different color highlighter, like a blue or an orange or something. And then that way you can see what you've done, and you can also see the symbol beneath the highlight, just in case, you know, you've done something wrong or you need to redo it or whatever. Yeah, so. But yeah, with this Pattern Keeper course, it does all that searching for you, which is so lovely. And then I've heard if you're, I believe it's for Apple, there's Markup RX or something like that, which is similar. I've never used it because I don't have an iPad, so I don't know. But I've seen plenty of people say it's really good if you don't want to, you know, change and use an Android device. If you know, you already have an iOS device and don't want to invest in a new device, which is understandable. I didn't have a tablet at all. So, yeah, I was just a phone and laptop person, so. So yeah, when Pattern Keeper came out and started catching on and I saw it, I went, okay, well, I guess I'm investing in a tablet for my birthday. Definitely worth every penny. All right, so now I filled in a bunch. I can do all those together, which is what I was hoping for. Garbage truck going by. When my son was little, he was a toddler, he loved to stand and watch it. And then when the truck drove out of sight, he was all upset, and he grabbed my arm. He pulled me back to the window because he wanted me to make it come back. I said, I can't do that. Oh, yeah. Some days miss when they were that age. It does go by quickly. Son had a birthday recently. He's 15 now, and it's like, you know, I've been with him pretty much every day of his life. There was a couple of weeks he spent at his grandparents', but other than that, and I still can't believe that it's been that long. Guess that feeling kind of never goes away. Yeah, when my mother-in-law called to wish my husband a happy birthday, and she couldn't remember how old he was. I said, you know, he's your firstborn. How do you not remember that? But anyway, and then when I told her, she said, oh gosh, don't say that. Now I feel so old. Yeah, because my dad said when I turned 30 that, you know, after a while you sort of start, you don't really count your own age so much. And then you only realize how old you are when you realize how old your kids are, right? That it's like, well, wait a minute. If, you know, you're that age, that means I'm old. they said, you know, you're older when somebody asks you how old you are and you've got to do the math. I thought I was 36 a year before I was 36. Oh. I made myself older than I was. Yeah. And then it was like when my actual 36th birthday was coming up, I went, oh, wait a minute. Calculating from the year I was born, wait a minute, I've been 35, you know? Oh. Oh, well. Although I guess age between 35 36, not really that big a deal anymore, right? It's not like the difference between when you're 17 versus 18 and, oh, you're a legal adult now, right? Yeah, my husband said the year he turned 18, he was so proud to go vote because he could, you know? Oh, am I in the right place? Oh, I parked that one wrong. Okay, I see why. Yeah. See, I was looking at when I park it compared to other threads, and I placed this one 2 above the grid line. It should be 1. That's okay. Easily fixed. There. Now where it should be. Yeah, maybe it's because I'm terrible at mental math too. I think I have what they call dyscalculia. Calcula? It's like dyslexia, but with numbers, where they said it's like you have trouble holding them in your brain. You know, if you're doing mental math, you have, like they said, it's almost like a mental scratch pad. And somebody said when you have dyscalculia, it's like you're trying to do that, but when you write the numbers, it's like you're writing them into sand and they just slowly start filling in. And I thought, oh, that sounds exactly like how my brain is. As soon as I go to write the second number, the first one has disappeared. I can't remember what it is. And yeah, well, it's common if you have ADHD, which I almost certainly do. And apparently, yeah, it affects a whole lot of things. Spatial perception, and you can have a hard time with directions, like compass points. I'm pretty hopeless with. Don't tell me to go north because I have no idea which way that is, you know. But if you tell me to go towards Canadian Tire, then I'll know what direction you're talking about, you know, that kind of thing. I don't remember street names and stuff. I just, you know the way home. So then, yeah, people ask for directions. It's like, oh, shoot, I can't remember what side street you turn off of because I never pay attention to the street name. Oh, thank goodness for GPS, hey? Yeah, especially with our house is kind of, we're on an avenue, but it's kind of like a section that's cut off from the other parts of the street. So yeah, because you think, oh, you know, streets and avenues, that'll be easy, right? One goes one way and one goes 90 degrees to it, but no. Because yeah, when we were looking to buy this house, that's what we thought before we had our appointment with the realtor. Well, we'll just drive by it, take a look at the outside. It's on an avenue. That'll be easy to find. No, it was not. But it is kind of nice, and that means we don't get a lot of traffic. So even though we're near a school, we're near a highway, it's a little quieter. So we're not in the middle of nowhere and, you know, a long way from things, but we're also don't have tons of traffic either. It definitely makes it easier when you got to back out of the driveway, right? Yeah, especially since my car does not have a backup camera. It's too old. That is one nice thing about my rental. It has a backup camera. I'm going to miss that feature. That's for sure. I'm one of those people, too, who has a hard time backing up when you actually twist and look backwards. yeah, I'm not good at it. So when I'm backing out on my driveway, I would use my mirrors until I get close to the end of it, then stop and twist my head and look around to make sure it's clear before pulling onto the street. Yeah. But yeah, I'm one of those people who will take great lengths to avoid backing up if I can. I'll park further away in the parking lot so that I can get, 2 spaces that are like this. I could pull all the way through, and then that way I can just pull out straight when I gotta leave. Or a few times when, like, say I have to pick up my son from school and it's quite crowded and there isn't a place to pull through. So I will wait until other people leave and the car that's parked nose to nose with me has left. That way I can pull through. Well, that's the whole reason I got rear-ended, was that the one time I didn't wait for the parking lot to clear out like I usually do, because I figure, what's the point in jockeying for position, right? It just ends up as a logjam of everybody trying to get out at once. And so you're not really going to get home much faster, in my opinion. So I'll sit in the car and wait, 10, 15 minutes until everybody else has pretty much left. And then it's a lot easier. But the one time I didn't do that was the one time I got rear-ended. So it's like, oh, I was so mad. Like, I never, ever jockey for position. And the one time I did, I got smacked into. So, because what happened was, sometimes my husband picks up our son from school. And sometimes I do. And he hadn't said that he was picking him up, so I assumed I was. So we were both there. Then I saw my husband's truck, realized, oh, okay, he picked him up. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to leave earlier, stop at the grocery store on the way home because there's a couple of errands I need to run. I didn't want to wait. So, yeah, got into the logjam and then I got smacked. It's like, oh, that sucked. But thankfully, they're not writing off my car because, yeah, there's people who say, well, you can still keep it. But the problem is, once your car has been deemed written off, it no longer has any equity in it. So if you choose to keep it and you get hit again, you won't get any blue book value for it. So that's why a lot of people, once it's written off, you take your blue book value and buy yourself a different vehicle. So fortunately, because my car has super low mileage and has been well maintained, they decided it was worth fixing, because they say, yeah, if it's I think if it's up to 65% of the worth, if the repairs cost that much opposed to the worth of the blue book value of your vehicle, then it'll be fixed. Anything above that, they write it off. So we were pretty close. Pardon me. They determined it was 5,400 damage, and the blue book value was around 10,000, 11,000. So yes, I was very, very happy when they said they deemed it was worth repairing. Plus, I got sentimental value attached to that car. Yeah, I like that vehicle. But they're a lot bigger inside than they look from the outside. I can still maneuver into smaller parking spaces because I won't drive anything huge. I'm too worried that I'll hit something. So, plus, I mean, with gas prices what they are these days, yeah, you don't want a huge vehicle if you don't need it. So I'm hoping that is the last accident that car is in. And I want to drive it for another 10 years. Yeah, I don't use it much. I think I put maybe 5,000 kilometers a year on it. Yeah, just from to and from school and to and from work when I still had my part-time job. Got laid off due to downsizing, but oh well. And then running errands, going to the doctors, that kind of thing. Yeah, I don't put a lot on it. Yeah, in fact, when the pandemic hit, I had to make sure to start my car every, 3-4 days so the battery wouldn't die. This is an older battery. And I was fine when it was still getting driven, you know, 4 or 5 times a week. That was enough to charge it, but yeah, when you weren't driving around anymore. Had to replace it because I forgot to plug in my block heater one time, and battery froze, so that was it. It was done. Yeah, we've block heater and a battery blanket because it gets so cold out here in the winter that if you don't, your battery and engine block will freeze and then it won't start. Yeah, there was a joke saying, you know, come to Canada for the culture, stay because your car won't start. Because yeah, that happened. I had a couple times, you know, was called from places I had an appointment saying, yeah, don't bother coming in because we can't make it in. Cars won't start. So yeah, glad it is spring. Even if we are getting a little bit of snow here and there, at least it's not getting that cold. Okay, and then I'm going to go around this edge here. Okay. Oh, goodness. Bit of a tangle here. There we are. Right, I have another of this parked, so I remember what I was going to do here. This one in the corner, and then I'm going to park this back over to the right. Right there. Now it's out of the diagonal, so... Unfortunately, this is just too short to carry to that one lone stitch to the right and do it. So I'll find another short little piece when I get there, because it's in the next diagonal. Okay. Actually, do that one first. Oh, right. Okay, let me take a look. Perfect. Yeah, I parked the other one that was lower, a little further away, because that was a longer piece. And I could get more stitches out of that this way. And what I figured was I would have a short piece for this stitch, which I do. Yeah, so I was saying I don't like to drive big vehicles, although I have done it. I can if I really have to. Gotta be careful. But one time I had to come pick my husband up in the big pickup truck. Oh, that was not fun. And it was at night, which I don't like driving at night. Got astigmatism, so it causes like streaks to come from the lights. It's very very distracting. And headlights these days are so blinding, right? People just blind you with their high beams. And it was sheer polished ice that night. And so, yeah, I was going 50 kilometers. You know, speed limit was 60, but that's for when the roads are, you know, perfect, bare and dry. This was not. So I was going 50, and some guy tailgated me the whole way, you know. And the thing is, we were on a 2-lane. There's a passing lane right next to us the entire time. And instead, the guy tailgates me for like 5 kilometers. Like, seriously, dude, what is your problem? And then when I'm finally turning off the road, that's when he leans on his horn. Like, okay, jerk, you know? And again, it was your choice to stay behind me the whole time. I considered rolling down my window and like waving him around, but I was afraid I might make him mad. You know, you never know. There's people out there who pick a fight with you. And so, you know, I was afraid if I did that, he might rear end me on purpose or something. You never know, right? You like to think most people are reasonable, but, you know, you never know. If you have the bad misfortune to come across a person who isn't and is going to road rage at you, it could be dangerous. So, yeah, I just kind of put up with him and called him names under my breath. And oh. Yeah, I've had that. Or I had one time I was driving to work and it was super, super icy. And so guys tailgating me the whole way. Then we turn the corner and there's 2 lanes and he pulls up beside me, guns it, fishtails, almost hits me, slows back down and drops back behind me. Like, yeah, dude. I wasn't going slower than the speed limit because it's fun. I was doing it because it's sheer ice out here and I don't want to freaking get into an accident. Oh, sure glad he didn't hit me when he fishtailed. I would have been mad. Yeah, everybody around here drives a great pickup truck practically, so my smaller little SUV, it can be quite intimidating sometimes. I had to get used to that because, yeah, I grew up in BC and there's definitely not as many pickup trucks there. But out here, they're mostly pickup trucks, I find. Okay, yeah. All right, got a bunch of threads done. Parked out of the diagonal. Excellent. Yeah. Kind of Yeah, the one drawback of my car, which is an Element, is it only seats 4 instead of 5. Because the seats on the original one would split and flip up like that. And even though they don't anymore, mine is a 2nd generation, so the seats fold down instead of folding up against the sides. They still don't have a 3rd seatbelt in the middle. So, fortunately, we only have 1 kid, so that's generally not an issue. But yeah, I've had times where people want to ride, and it's like, yes, sorry, my car seat's 4. That's it. So, of course, I guess that gives me a convenient excuse about getting out of carpool, right? Oh dear. Not that you really are carpooling these days to go anywhere. Oh. Oh my goodness. Yeah, although I have kind of liked the fact that to get my prescriptions refilled, I don't have to go into the doctor's office anymore. That's kind of nice. I'd be fine if that never went away. I could just phone the office and they say, okay, we'll call you back within half an hour. And yeah. And then he says, okay, I'll call those into the pharmacy for you, and then it's done. That's nice. I quite like that. Yeah, it's amazing what you can do with these days. It's like you barely have to go into the physical bank anymore, because now you can cash checks from your phone. If it's cooperating. Yeah, you know, take a picture and on their app and deposit it that way. So basically I only have to go in if the app is being persnickety on me and doesn't want to accept the check, but that's doesn't happen so much now either. Once I upgraded my phone, and I guess the camera is more sensitive, so it works better. Alrighty, got a fair amount done today. I think I'm gonna have to take a break there. So thank you for joining me today, and I hope I will see you here again. All right, thanks everyone. Bye.